What's the most beep up thing you've seen at a friend's house?
My neighbor friend had a bucket in the corner of her room that she said was to relieve herself in when her parents locked her in. I was 7 and she was 9. We moved away shortly after and I didn't realize that this was not normal until several years later. I hope she made it to adulthood okay.
My friend's mom, raging alcoholic, was really drunk and pulled a shotgun on us not knowing who we were, due to being blackout drunk. This was at like 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
When I was about 15, I went to a friend's house, call him Doug, and from there we met up with one of his friends at their house, call him Tyler. Down the hallway at Tyler's house was a door with a deadbolt on the outside. Tyler, you guys want to see something hilarious? Me, sure. Tyler unlocks the door, and we see a little old lady, probably in her mid-late 80s, in the corner of a dark room surrounded by dirty dishes and half-eaten bologna sandwiches. She looks up and says, "Who are you? What do you want?" Tyler then picks up one of the sandwiches and throws it at her, getting mustard and bologna all over this poor woman's face. He then does the same with her drink. All the while he's yelling at her stupid BTCH, etc. At that point she gets up, starts yelling, "What the hell are you doing?" and cursing at him. He runs out the door, locks the deadbolt, and she starts banging on the door to let her out, and she was gonna kill him, etc. A minute or so passes, and he unlocks the door, and walks in. She is so visibly confused, and sweetly, calmly asking why she was wet and what was all over her. "It's all right, Grandma, just sit down and eat your food." To which she quietly sits back down, still soaking wet and covered in sandwich dressings. Tyler and Doug thought it was the funniest thing in the world and didn't stop laughing for hours about it. I left and didn't go back to either of their houses again. I still feel like a piece of SHT for even being there to witness it.
Went to a friend's house after school to play some Halo. Turned on the Xbox, heard some crunching and a beep, ton of cockroaches run for cover. I stood most of the time I was there.
I had a friend who lived on his own in high school and we partied there a lot. He had a revolving door of roommates to help with rent. One of these roommates was a pretty serious drug dealer. He was extremely paranoid and rarely spoke to us besides threats. He had ordered, threatened, that no one ever go in his room and it was always locked. Well, one day he got arrested and had pounds of drugs in the car. Off to jail. He had communicated through family again not to enter his room and eventually his family would come get his things. Weeks went by and a strange smell started coming from the locked room. This dude and his family were super scary, so we didn't want to beep around and find out. But finally my friend was like, "WTF is this smell? Maybe it's trash and I can get it out of here without touching anything else." Nope. It was a huge boa constrictor no one knew about. I think it had died and that was the issue. He didn't have it in any proper tank, so it clearly wasn't taken care of.
A new kid moved a couple doors down. I befriended him, and he invited me round his house one day. He just went for a piss in the corner of his bedroom. He and his family were pretty messed up in hindsight.
A coworker had a few people over for drinks after work. She had 2 kids, and mentioned she'd just gotten 2 kittens for those kids, who were 3 and 5. They ran around grabbing and dragging the kittens around, and later the coworker put them away. She then complained about how the kids and the kittens were too much, and how she directly regretted taking the kittens in. I heard constant meowing and asked if they were okay. She says, "Oh beep, I didn't feed them." Now, we both worked at a breakfast restaurant, worked all day, and had been sitting for a few hours by this point in the evening. I followed her to the room she put them in and you couldn't see the floor, covered in clothes. And the smell, as you can imagine, was that of a full room cat litter box. Poor things were locked in their own poop and pee, hungry, with the lights off. I asked if she would consider letting me take them. She agreed and I came early the next morning to take them both. I've had them for 7 years now.
His mom was single and had a different boyfriend every other month. She would always walk around naked and have loud sex with her boyfriend while the door was open. It was awkward as beep to play Halo with my friend knowing his mom is getting railed upstairs. We were like 8 by the way.
My childhood friend's mom had a nude Titanic-style painting of herself hanging above the dining table.
When I was 10 or 11, my best friend's dad got angry, grabbed my friend by the arm, and dragged him across the living room. Snapped his arm. Family blamed it on some skating accident.
My friend had a dedicated poop room for his Great Dane. First and last time I went there.
This dude's mom had some kinda top-half mannequin. I showed up at his house unannounced as was the style at the time. His mom or dad or somebody was outside and told me to just go right down. He was in the basement. So I guess, yeah, he should have been warned. He was in the basement in this back room, making out with the fake head thing. It was all dressed up too with makeup and other crap on it. It was like, I wish I hadn't let out a noise of surprise and could have just left him, cause dude really freaked out that I saw him and I felt so bad.
Friend asked me to get us clean coffee mugs out the dishwasher. Besides the mugs, the dishwasher contained 2 toilet brushes, just washed.
This was many years ago, but I was invited to swim in a friend's pool. She was someone I had just met through another friend of mine. The three of us are in her room changing into our swimsuits, and I notice a bunch of used maxi pads laying open on her desk. I asked her what that was all about, and she very nonchalantly answered, "It's so my mom knows I'm not pregnant." We were maybe 12 at the time, and later that day I found out she had a beep insane religious mother.
No door on the bathroom. Seems kinda tame compared to some of the others I've read here.
My friend and his brother getting the beep beat out of them by their dad over a drink stain on a counter.
A Polaroid of his mom's boobs just chilling on a desk.
When I was about 6 or so, sometimes I would go to my neighbor friend's house for breakfast, and I guess his dad was in a bad mood when he asked him to pass the ketchup. My friend didn't hear him or ignored him. Either way, when the dad reached over and grabbed the ketchup himself, he smashed it over my friend's head. Totally had that one buried until I read the topic. Yikes.
I am increasingly concerned about how there are so many people just letting their dogs beep everywhere and not cleaning it up. Edit. Just wanted to say that all of your replies only increase my worry. Thank you.
Wondered why my friend always came to my house to play. One day we went to her house, all the rooms were trashed and the bathtub was filled with brown liquid. We kept playing at my house after that.
My friend lives in the basement and his parents are hoarders, so he has to walk through a tunnel of car parts, furniture, Christmas decorations, moldy clothes, and dried dog beep just to go upstairs to use the bathroom. There's a bathroom downstairs, but they didn't seem it important enough to fix for him. And when you come over, you can tell when they've tried to fill his mostly clean room with junk again and he's had to push it back out onto the piles.
My friend's brother showed us his Michael Jackson's impression and dance. Their mom showed up, told him to stop or something like that, and they got into a fight. He then started hitting her with full fists. I never left someone's house that fast. Scared the bejesus out of me. Good thing he lived close and I could just run home.
So many stories, I'll just go with this one. First time at my ex-wife's parents' house. We had just started dating, and she was still living with them at the time. We went to their house for a quiet evening of dinner with the fam, and then a movie in her room. She was 21 at that point, and I was 29. We finished dinner, and I think it went very well. The parents liked me, I liked them. Everyone got along. Politics and religion remained outside the scope of conversation. We went upstairs to her room, and put on Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. About 30 minutes into it, her dad came upstairs to use the bathroom directly beside us. The house is a 7-bedroom, 3 full bath, 3 half bath, monstrosity, so I found it odd that he picked the most remote bathroom in the house, but I wrote it off to people just being weird. 10 minutes went by. I heard stomping from the stairs. Loud, angry stomping. My ex's mom stormed up the stairs, and began banging on the bathroom door, screaming, "John," not his real name, "I know you're in there masturbating. Open the beep door." I turned to my ex and gave her the "what the beep is happening" look. She shrugged, but looked aghast, and like she knew exactly what was going on. So, Janet, not her name, kept banging on the door, and screaming. John kept screaming back, "I'm taking a beep, go away." So, after what felt like eons of my life go by, but probably was just a minute or two, Janet stepped back, lowered her shoulder and ran full speed into the door, smashing it down, destroying the door and the door frame. "I knew it," she yelled. John came running out of the bathroom, porn magazine in hand, while trying to get his shorts zipped up. So, of course, I married their daughter. And divorced her. I'm a moron. This family is goddamned insane, is one of the biggest red flags you can ever see, and I got to see it early, and just like Janet, lowered my shoulder and burst in full speed.
When I was a kid, I went to a friend's house. Really pretty kitty asleep on the couch. I went over and pet it. They had their cat stuffed after it died and had it proudly on display on their couch. Dead, stuffed cats don't feel really nice when you pet them. Yuck.
Dude's dad was going for a swim in their pool. One of his balls was hanging out from underneath his Speedo.
I went to a friend's house after school one day in 2005. I am a white British female and she was from Pakistan. We were both 10. When we arrived home, she immediately brought out the ironing board. I was about to ask her what she was doing when her mum came into the room with the biggest pile of clean laundry I've ever seen in my life to this day. I am now 26. My friend had to iron the entire pile, even with a friend over. I had been fortunate at that time in my life to have not done many chores. Any small chores I did do, I didn't have to do the day I had a friend over. I was shocked that her mother expected her to do this while I was there. It took her about 2 hours, even with me helping to fold the clothes when she had ironed them. We talked quietly while doing so. She wasn't allowed to shut the door but did not want to be overheard. She explained that this was normal life for her. That she did practically every chore in the house aside from cooking, and her mother was teaching her that at the moment. This was because the parents were preparing her to be a housewife and a bride. A child bride. Her parents had been constantly dropping remarks lately about moving back to Pakistan. If they did so, they would marry her off. I remember her looking at me dead in the eye and telling me she would rather die. Fast forward 3 years. We had moved to the upper school and placed in different classes. I saw her around a little and would partner up with her in PE. But suddenly I stopped seeing her. And I confess that young me had other stuff going on in my life that I didn't stop to properly think. I only realized what might have happened about a month later and went to my PE teacher to ask if she or any other teacher had heard from my friend. Oh, her parents pulled her out of school overnight. They wanted to go back to Pakistan. I remember the look in my friend's eyes when she told me she would rather die than become a child bride. I have searched social media to no avail. I am 100% convinced that my friend is dead. Rip Harvinder.
A friend from middle school had parents who'd always get him dogs even though they didn't bother to take good care of them. My friend loved those dogs but the parents would always let him out somehow and they'd run away. One day I went to his house and he told me about how his current dog got hit by a car, and half its body was smashed and how bad he felt and all. I assumed the dog died and was disposed of. But he walked me to the backyard with a small plate of food for the dog. The parents had dug a shallow hole and threw the dog in there while it was still alive. I seen it withering while its lower half was being eaten by maggots. The next day he told me his dad had put it down himself. I don't like to imagine how.
Dog poop everywhere. His dog would scratch at the backyard door to go pee, but would opt to beep in the house, and my friend would just pick it all up en masse at the end of the week.
I used to be the kid with the beep up house frown. My mom boarded dogs out of my childhood home for money. There was always piss and beep everywhere. BC she took on more than she was capable of handling. Always loud, and I couldn't go downstairs without gagging from the smell and getting jumped on by all the dogs that were walking through everything. Hated my life, couldn't keep almost any friends, and I wanted to kill myself. She thought I was trying to take away her happiness by wanting a clean, quiet, calm home to live in. Don't have kids if you don't care about them, folks.
When I was a teenager, we all hung out at a friend's house whose parents were never home. There was dog beep everywhere. One turd was so old it turned white basically. One of our friends proceeded to put his cigarette butt out in it, and it sat there for probably a few more months.
My neighbor had a little box of ceramic president statues with all the heads removed.
The dad showering with my friend at age 12. They said, "Come in," so I thought they were brushing their teeth or something and he was scrubbing her. I ran out and the mom said they do it to save water and not be scared of it. Years later he got arrested for sending dick pics to high school girls.
A friend of mine and his wife were having a struggle of wills over who was responsible for taking care of their dog. The dog stayed in their baby's room. The floor was literally covered in dog beep. It was insane, but so was the rest of their relationship.
Her mom punched her in the vagina and said, "That's just how we play."
A big black trash bag filled to its breaking point with old adult VHS tapes.
Naked Grandma.
May your day be filled with joy and happiness. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more quality content every day.